right? Stephanie White, do not put Ari and Kelsey and Caitlin on the floor at the same time. Please don't do it. Please don't do it, man. Please. All right? That lineup made no sense at all. All right? Why would you do that? Why would you do that, Stephanie White? All right, now.
Caitlin Clark does return to the floor. How is she going to help elevate this team even more down the stretch of the season?
Well, she demands so much gravity on the defensive end of the floor. She's constantly seeing multiple players, and she makes the right reads and makes the right plays for our group. So she's going to continue to allow us to stretch the floor. We're going to be able to, I think everybody else will be able to get more higher percentage looks because of what she demands on the defensive end of the floor. And she brings our own defensive versatility because of her length, because of her size. So we'll certainly look different. I think we'll be that much more dangerous on offense in particular.
And we've got Stephanie White praising Caitlin Clark. Did hell freeze over somewhere I don't know about? I don't know. We'll see. But she actually made some very nice comments, I guess, about Caitlin Clark today. She was on with ESPN.
Thankfully, she went on ESPN and didn't use the phrase blessing in disguise. Like, I mean this when I say this. Like, I've said this about Stephanie White plenty of times. I actually think Stephanie White's a hell of a coach. So many people are like, oh, you've done nothing but criticize Stephanie White. I think she's got flaws. I think her rotations are iffy. I think her game plans are good. I think her defense is good. And I think her ability to get a team together is pretty good. I think she likes to play a bit slow, but she is very good. What Stephanie White is really good at is making players and teams play better than they should.
Stephanie White's latest interview with ESPN has sent shockwaves through the basketball world, and her tone of uncertainty and outright bizarre strategic pivots regarding Caitlin Clark's role suggests this situation is more serious than anyone wants to admit. In a Monday appearance on NBA Today, she dropped a bombshell that has the fan base up in arms. She didn't just fail to provide specifics about Clark's return, she completely shifted the narrative about how the superstar would be used, signaling a new chapter in what can only be described as a season of coaching malpractice.
In everything that we do, for us, moving her off the ball a little bit more so she's not getting worn out in game, just handling the ball 94 feet. And then we're challenging her on the defensive end of the floor as well, like being a better defender. The best for us as an opponent, you want to attack a good offensive player by making him play on the defensive end, putting him through the ringer. So being a better defender.
At first, it sounded like a breakthrough, a moment of clarity that fans had been desperately waiting for. After weeks of what felt like a Cold War, with tense press conferences and questionable on-court decisions, Stephanie White was actually praising Caitlin Clark on national television. She spoke with a calm assurance about the gravity Clark demands on the floor, how she makes the right reads, and how the team will be that much more dangerous with her back in the lineup. It was everything fans and the organization needed to hear. But it was a Trojan horse, because what came next was the poison pill, the reveal of a new strategy so fundamentally flawed, so completely tone-deaf to the reality of her talent, that it feels like a deliberate act of sabotage. White revealed that when Clark returns, she'll be in a different role, one that takes her away from what made her the most dominant offensive force in the history of women's basketball. I think it could be really good for us to get Clark off the ball a little bit more, White explained, casually suggesting that the greatest offensive engine in the game should become a passenger in her own vehicle.
In 5 with Caitlin. At the end of the day, no matter how many games they win, they lost more games without Caitlin Clark playing. So everybody argument that Caitlin Clark is the Achilles heel, Caitlin Clark is this and that, your argument is obsolete, bro. They will forever have that notion on there, that blemish on there. Now, if they would have won more games, lost less, then you might have had something. But by them losing 7 damn games without Caitlin Clark playing, lets us know that, they need Caitlin Clark.
This is Stephanie White at it again, trying to turn the generational talent that is Caitlin Clark into just another cog in her precious, outdated system. What White fails to understand, what she has consistently failed to understand throughout this disastrous season, is that Caitlin Clark isn't supposed to be a player in a system. She is the system. When you are blessed with the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, a player who single-handedly revolutionized the sport and dragged the WNBA into the mainstream, you don't try to fit her into your old-school Connecticut Sun-style slow ball offense. You tear up the playbook, you burn it, and you build everything around her unique, transcendent talents. But White, stubbornly clinging to the same philosophy that made her previous team one of the lowest scoring in the WNBA, continues to try to squeeze Clark into a role that actively diminishes her impact, a role that she herself has admitted she is not best at.
On the entire league. Remember, she literally added like nearly 3 points a game to her average. She was setting records for assists. Now, that's with Christy Sides having understood the job and just letting Caitlin Clark go wild. That's why I won't buy into the Fever. She's got to greatly alter her game for the Fever to get much better. No, she came back last year. She went scorched earth, and they were beating nearly everybody.
What makes this strategic pivot even more infuriating is that the Fever already had the blueprint for success, and they threw it away in favor of this complicated mess. Let's talk about the Christy Sides paradox. Was she a perfect coach? Did she have defensive scheme issues? Absolutely. But she understood one simple, fundamental principle that seems to have completely eluded Stephanie White. You let your generational talent be a generational talent. Sides let Clark be Clark. She gave her the ball, she gave her the freedom, and she let her run the offense at her preferred breakneck pace. And what were the results? A record-breaking rookie season that saw Clark shatter nearly every offensive metric. The franchise's first playoff appearance since 2016, and sold out arenas in every city they visited. It was simple, it was logical, and it worked. White came in promising a sophisticated upgrade, but instead, she's trying to fix the one thing that was never broken, and the team, the fans, and Clark herself are suffering because of it.
I know she wants to be out here on the floor. We want her out here on the floor, but making sure that she's ready is the most important thing. I still don't know how far we are. We're going to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and go from there.
The numbers don't lie about the damage this new approach has already inflicted on Clark's game. After being a virtual Iron Woman through 4 years of college and her entire rookie year, she has been limited to just 13 games this season due to a series of recurring soft tissue injuries. When she has managed to get on the court, she's been a shell of the player who took the world by storm. Her field goal percentage has dropped to a dismal 36.7%, and her three-point shooting, her signature weapon, has plummeted to a concerning 27.9%. On the road, where the physical play intensifies and her body is most fatigued, she's shooting a shocking 2 for 35 from downtown. These are not the numbers of a player in a sophomore slump. These are the numbers of a superstar being systematically neutralized and worn down by her own team's flawed strategy.
Ari McDonald, all she care about is putting the ball in the hoop. Everybody want to score. That's it. Y'all can barely look. Y'all had 17 assists against the Aces the other night. Y'all can't even put up 20 assists a game. That's sad. That's pathetic. Y'all don't be getting Sophie the ball when she open. You know what I'm saying? She be playing defense and everything, and Lexi Hull. Y'all need to reward those girls. They working hard, bro. Those are some hard-working women at the end of the day. You hear me? That's crazy.
This brings us to the most damning part of the story, the physical punishment and its connection to White's system. The connection between this flawed philosophy and Clark's recurring injuries is becoming impossible to ignore. A staggering 17% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA this season have been committed against Clark. The constant physicality is taking a toll. By forcing Clark to play more off the ball, White is actually putting her in more danger, asking her to fight through a forest of illegal screens and absorb even more contact from defenders who have been given a green light by the referees to be overly aggressive. Christie's sides let her cook offense, while perhaps defensively challenging for the team, at least kept the ball in the hands of her best player, allowing her to dictate the terms of engagement. White's system is not only inefficient, but it's also putting her franchise player in a physically dangerous position, leading directly to the cycle of injuries that has derailed her season.
All of y'all who said we were exaggerating, Caitlin Clark's not getting fouled, bruh, it's to the point where we have this going on.
Perhaps the most damaging aspect of White's coaching philosophy isn't just the tactical mistakes, it's the way it's crushing Clark's spirit, and you can see it in her eyes. This is a player who thrived under pressure at Iowa, who elevated her game in the biggest moments and played with an infectious joy. In Indiana, under White, she's being micromanaged into mediocrity. White talks about reintegrating Clark as if she's some role player returning from a long-term injury, not the face of the franchise and the most talented player in the league. The comparison to other legendary point guards is instructive. Can you imagine Phil Jackson telling Michael Jordan to play off the ball to give him a breather? Or Pat Riley asking Magic Johnson to stand in the corner so someone else could run the offense? It's absurd. Yet, that's exactly what White is proposing for a player who should have the ball in her hands on every single possession.
Listen to this.
Yeah, we have updates, and our recovery's going well. It's just, I think, for us staying the course and making sure that we're really diligent about each step that we take, and that we don't have setbacks, and that we're patient with it. I know she wants to be out here on the floor, and we want her out here on the floor, but making sure that she's ready is the most important thing. I still don't know how far we are. We're going to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and go from there.
I think the obvious issue is Stephanie White is so stubborn to fit a circle in a square peg instead of utilizing the strengths of the team. And she probably felt relief because Caitlin Clark was hurt that, this is my time. I could introduce the culture and the system. And some actually bought in. And then when Caitlin Clark comes back, she doesn't know how to use her.
And the fans have had enough. They are not stupid. They see what's happening. Social media has exploded with criticism of White's handling of Clark, with many calling for a coaching change. Stephanie White needs to stop this game plan and let CC run the show, wrote one frustrated fan. Never seen Double C look this down and dejected. White has done her job and broken 200, added another. The frustration is understandable. Fans aren't tuning in by the millions to watch White's grinded-out Connecticut Sun-style offense. They want to see Clark do what she does best, create magic with the ball in her hands, make impossible shots, and elevate everyone around her. Instead, they're getting a watered-down, constrained version of a generational talent, and their patience is wearing dangerously thin.
Stephanie Jigsaw White. Let me tell you something. Y'all do not move the ball better without my Caitlin Clark, aka my precious CC. At the end of the day, y'all have only won 4 games and recorded 4 games where y'all had 20 assists as a team at the end of the day. Caitlin Clark, aka my precious CC, she averages 7 to 9 assists a game. You hear me? Because she moves the ball and get everybody open, because everybody and their mama and their grandma be double teaming and triple teaming her, and her team is lazy when it comes to setting screens for her. Maybe she wouldn't be injured.
Stephanie White's latest comments about Clark's new role represent more than just a tactical adjustment. They represent a fundamental misunderstanding of how to maximize generational talent. and it has put this franchise at a critical crossroads. The solution is simple, and it's the one that every fan is screaming from the rooftops. Let Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark. Give her the ball. Surround her with players who can complement her skills and get out of the way. Build the system around the player, not the other way around. Every great coach in the history of basketball has understood this principle when dealing with transcendent talent. The clock is ticking on Clark's prime years, and every game spent trying to make her fit into White's outdated playbook is a game wasted. Fever fans deserve better. Caitlin Clark deserves better. And if Stephanie White can't or won't adapt her philosophy, then perhaps it's time for the organization to find someone who will.